In the 60s, East Side Secondary School is one of the best schools in Paterson, New Jersey. Joe is an educator in this school and his class reveres him since he shows significant things with generosity. Yet in addition, fun contests. One morning his class is hindered by individual educator Candid, who lets him know they're holding a gathering of the association chief board without them. Enraged, Joe blasts into the gathering and hollers at everybody for not supporting his change thoughts and continuously surrendering. As soon as the local government gets fed up with Joe's behavior, they are asked to keep quiet. 20 years later, East Side High has degenerated to the point where it is referred to as a cauldron of violence, and the board agrees to transfer him there. The students don't know what good behavior means, and there is bullying and violence in every hall. The building itself has lost its shine. They don't pay attention to teachers and even beat them up when they try to help, and they hand out illegal drugs and weapons like candy. The fact that the majority of students fail the basic skills test is bad news for Mayor Bobby Frank, who wouldn't want to lose the school to state administration because it would be expensive in the election. The only logical conclusion that Mr. Rosenberg, the attorney for the school board, and the school superintendent now reach is that they must bring Joe back. Despite the fact that Bob Mann has no choice, he accepts the concept. Frank and Rosenberg visit Joe to inquire about the principal position at the East Side. However, Joe declines them, claiming that he is aware that the mayor only wants to save himself and not the children. Frank, on the other hand, convinces Joe to change his mind by pointing out that Joe's Crazy Joe routine hasn't changed anything yet, and he shouldn't take that to his grave. The following day, Joe appears at East Side as the new standard. He convenes a meeting with the other teachers and immediately employs autocracy, claiming that he is the sole participant in his meetings. After requesting a list containing the names of all students who participated in criminal activity, he arranges the caretaker to clean the walls and make any understudy in detainment help. The English teacher, Mr. Darnell, is downgraded to work as the football coach's assistant. All teachers must concentrate on getting the students ready for their next standardized test because the school needs 75% approval, and the last time they did less than 40. Next, Joe calls for a school assembly where all the troublemakers from the list are put on stage. When Joe comes over, there will be guards in the hallways to assist them in stopping the violence. He catches Kanisha, who is glad to see him since he used to be her grade school head. Joe gets on the stage and requested science, however no one focuses on him and the agitators snicker when he requested that they sing the school tune. Joe decides to kick out all the troublemakers because he finds them to be incorrigible, reassuring the other kids that no one will ever bother them again. Joe has a meeting with all the parents. Leona, the mother of one of the expelled children, is furious about what happened, and many parents support Joe. Security takes all the students off the stage, which is enough to calm everyone else down. Joe then tells them they could be the next if they don't study hard in the afternoon. But Joe refuses to give in and gives a speech about how a few bad apples ruin everything. He says that he kicked out 300 kids to save 2,700 others and that he promised God he would save the school. This speech gets almost every parent behind him, but Lena stays irate. The day after that, when Joe arrives at school, a child is waiting for him. After being kicked out, Sam tries to convince Joe that he made a mistake because he didn't do anything, but Joe realizes that he is lying and takes him to the roof with him. He says that Sam is a coward for not telling his parents that he was kicked out and that he will die from using illegal substances. Therefore, he ought to leap if he wants to die this badly. Joe accepts to give Sam a second chance, but if he makes a mistake again, he'll be out for good during lunch. Sam clearly refuses and promises to do better. Joe listens to what the students have to say and offers some advice as he moves from table to table. He's glad to see Beam is wearing a suit which sets a great model, not at all like Sam's and his companions who dress carelessly. When he sees them irritating a young lady, Joe makes them stand up and gets down on their nearby decision before each one, then requests that they sing the school melody. He also tells everyone in the room that they shouldn't move during the school song. When Darnell bends over to pick up some trash, Joe tells him to go to his office. The boys don't know the lyrics, so Joe gives them detention and tells everyone that they should all be ready to sing the school song on command or face consequences. After that, Joe tells Elliot's music teacher about the new rule, and Elliot accepts it. However, after the training for an upcoming choir concert in New York has been completed, she will instruct the school song. Elliot would like to see the kid's Mozart practice respected. She gets down on Joe, saying he could do without different grown-ups confronting him, and Joe responds by terminating her and dropping the show so the understudies can focus on the approaching test. From this point forward, the piano player Mrs. Powers will be responsible for the music. Joe is once more brought up during his meeting with Darnell afterwards. Darnell believes he is being treated like trash, and it is important to keep in mind that these are also students. This winds up with Darnell getting suspended. Joan, vice principal, tries to persuade Joe C. to think for himself by pointing out that Darnell is more than just a coach and that no one understands what Joe is doing. However, Joe's response was precisely as he preferred. On the day of the practice test, all of the students do their best to prepare, but their teachers are watching them closely. Joe sends Joan to the school board to directly request the letter because he doesn't want to wait long for the results. One morning, a student's special presentation for the local press is disrupted by an attack in the cafeteria. One of the expelled boys has returned and is beating Ray. He also possesses a knife. He is swiftly captured by Joe, who wonders how he entered security, informs him that someone must have allowed him inside. In that instant, Joe decides to chain all school doors and lock them. Joe discovers Kanisha's agitation later. Despite her intelligence, she has struggled academically since losing her home because her mother does not want her. Willing to assist, Joe takes Joan to visit Kanisha's mother at her house. The mother revealed that she contracted Kanisha when she was a teenager and had to give up her normal life to work. She is currently attempting to get clean, but doing so puts her in a terrible mental state. That is the reason she figured it would be smarter to send Kanisha with youngster administrations, yet she wanted constantly her around or cherishing her. Joe says that if she takes Kanisha back and stays focused on her studies, he will help her get a better job in a nicer area. When the chain doors are reported in the media, Leanna takes the opportunity to file a complaint with the school board. Joe is called out on his crazy behavior by Frank, mentioning that the fire chief is on her side and that Lena is putting together a group to get rid of him. He believes that Joe is alienating everyone, just like he did with his wife. As a result, he is going to write an apology letter to Elliot and Darnell. After all, if Joe wants to be respected as an authority, he needs to first respect authority. Darnell is restored, however the issues aren't finished at this point. The press arrives at the school alongside the fire chief. Joan tries to express her concerns about Joe's attitude by getting him to leave while threatening him with a bath. In any case, to no one's surprise, she's overlooked. To Joe's failure, he sees Ray again when the boy comes to say goodbye because he can no longer attend this school. Later, Joe discovers Sam's friends having a good time in the bathroom. He gets them to sing the school song, and he is shocked to hear a beautiful church choir-style rendition. The boys acknowledge that it was Powers who taught them this, so Joe visits her to congratulate her and request that she teach everyone this version of the song going forward. Joe is disappointed to see that he only scored 33% on the practice test. He calls all of the teachers to the gym and tells them that their inefficiency is to blame for the poor results. As a result, they must exert greater effort. Joe would like to start a Saturday tutoring program and an additional course on remedial reading, but a teacher says it's hard to get kids to come on weekends. They will visit each student's home and talk to their parents to get them involved, according to his plan. The following weeks, teachers and students put in a lot of effort to prepare for the test, and Joe is as involved with his students as possible. You might even invite them to come too if they don't know how to read. Lena, along with the fire chief, decides to speak with Botman directly because this is still insufficient. Joe was being defended by Frank and Rosenberg. However, in order to prevent Leona from persuading the town not to vote for him, Botman excludes them from the meeting and comes to an agreement with her. Joe will be fired by Botman, and Leona will get people to support him. Rosenberg is in one of the stalls and hears everything that Botman tells the fire chief later in the bathroom that they will arrest Joe for the illegal chains after the test. Frank is informed of this by Rosenberg, and they go to warn Joe. When the security guards see the chief approaching, who quickly devises a strategy. Through the walkie-talkies, they will dial code 10, and the teachers will be able to temporarily remove the chains. After that, Joan tries to talk to Joe about how their reading program is going, but he tells her that he is too busy right now to look into it and that his vice principal should do things that don't require him all the time at the end of the day. Joan expresses her frustration at working with Joe and requests a transfer. She refers to him as an egomaniacal windbag who whips people who are unable to respond, noting that half of the staff feels the same way but has not yet left because they care about the children. Joan, notwithstanding, has had enough of his absence of regard and backing for the instructors, so she needs. Joan receives her transfer papers from Joe the following day, prior to assembly. After that, he gives a speech to the kids about the bad reputation the school has in town, motivating them to show that they are not barbarians. He also expresses his gratitude to the teachers, which he attributes to Joan. The kids sing along with the following power song, "Lean on Me," excited to demonstrate their inferiority to the government. Joan decides to stay because she sees the school as a whole come together. The students performed admirably on the test day, but Leona can't wait for the school board meeting that is also coming up. Thus, the fire chief finally receives permission from Budman to obtain a court order. Canny should learn that she is pregnant at school, but despite her assurances that he is the only boy she has ever been with, her boyfriend doesn't think he is the father. Joe promises to support them and that they will come up with other options. However, a guard announces the arrival of the fire chief to Lena and the reporters, interrupting their conversation. Using the code 10, Joe tries to remove the chains. However, the chief is prepared and has a copy of the code. As a result, Joe is taken into custody for breaking the fire code, leaving Joan in charge that night, and the school board meets. Frank tries to defend Joe's work. However, Leanna points out that the school received only 33% on the practice test, indicating that Joe actually failed at his work. When every student shows up and asks that Joe be let go, the meeting is abruptly cut short. Botman talks to Joe and asks him to tell the students to leave because he knows it will look bad if they fire a man who has such support. When Joe declines, Botman takes out the serious weapons and makes sense of the police are preparing outside, assuming that the understudies revolt, things might get vicious. Joe agrees to speak with them, but only for their safety and not because he believes they are acting improperly. Leanna is talking to the kids when he comes out, but all she gets is reprimanded and reminded of Joe's contributions to the school. Although he is still concerned about the police, he is moved when he hears them refer to him as a father. Joe takes over and reminds them to obey the law. His discourse is unexpectedly hindered by Joan, who brings the good news about the test results. Everyone rejoices as the school closes. Batman hears Joe tell him that he and the state can go to hell. Joe keeps his job, and the knight and the students sing the school song when the senior class is about to graduate. Each student's diploma is presented by Joe with thoughtful remarks. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.